Exactly 11:58 p.m., Lena Carter's phone rang from inside the darkness of her apartment. She almost ignored it. Rain hammered softly against the windows, while distant thunder rolled across the city skyline beyond her balcony. Lena sat curled beneath a blanket on the couch, half watching television, while exhaustion dragged heavily at her eyes, after another 14-hour shift at the emergency dispatch center downtown. The ringing continued. Unknown number. She sighed tiredly before finally answering. "Hello?" Silence answered first. Thick static crackled softly through the speaker. Lena frowned. "Hello?" Then she heard breathing. Weak, uneven breathing. Almost crying. "Please," a woman whispered through the phone. Lena sat upright, instantly. "Mom, are you okay?" More static crackled loudly. Then came the words that made Lena's blood freeze completely. "Don't let her in." Lena frowned harder. "Who?" The woman on the phone started sobbing softly. "She's standing outside now." A loud knock suddenly echoed from somewhere behind the woman during the call. Knock, knock. Knock. Lena's stomach tightened. "Listen to me," she said calmly, using her dispatcher voice instinctively. "Tell me your address." Silence followed for several seconds. Then the woman whispered something that nearly stopped Lena's heart entirely. "It's your apartment." Lena froze. "What?" The woman continued, crying softly. "She's coming for you." Then Lena heard another sound through the phone. Her own voice, faint at first beneath static. "Open the door." Lena's blood turned to ice instantly. The voice sounded exactly like her. Same tone, same accent. Same exhausted softness. The woman on the line began hyperventilating. "She sounds like you because she is you." Another knock echoed through the call, louder this time. Bang. Lena slowly looked toward her own apartment door across the room. Silence filled the apartment around her. Then 3 slow knocks echoed directly from her front door. "Knock! Knock! Knock!" Lena stopped breathing. The woman on the phone started screaming. "Don't open it!" Suddenly, the apartment lights flickered violently. Then Lena heard her own voice whisper softly through the other side of the real door. "Lena, let me inside." The call disconnected instantly. Silence swallowed the apartment. Lena stared toward the door while rain tapped softly against the windows behind her. Then something moved beneath the crack at the bottom of the door. A shadow, standing there waiting outside. Then came another whisper using her exact voice. "You're almost out of time." Chapter 1. Part 2. Lena backed slowly away from the apartment door while gripping the phone tightly in trembling hands. "This isn't real," she whispered repeatedly beneath her breath. The hallway outside remained silent now, except for rain echoing faintly through the building vents. Then her phone buzzed violently. Another unknown number. Lena hesitated several seconds before answering cautiously. "Hello?" This time the woman sounded calmer, still terrified, but calmer. "You answered too early," she whispered weakly. Lena's pulse hammered painfully. "Who are you?" Silence followed briefly. Then the woman answered softly, "You." Lena nearly dropped the phone. "Stop doing this." The woman ignored her. "What time is it?" Lena checked automatically. 12:01 a.m. Static crackled loudly through the call. Then the woman whispered shakily, "You have 59 minutes left." Cold spread slowly through Lena's chest. "What are you talking about?" The woman started crying again. I didn't listen either. Suddenly, something slammed violently against Lena's apartment door, hard enough to shake the walls. Bang! Lena screamed and backed farther away instantly. Another impact followed immediately. Bang! The woman whispered desperately through the phone, "Don't let her see you." Lena stared toward the peephole, trembling uncontrollably. Then came her own voice again from outside the door. Louder this time. "Lena, I know you're in there." Tears formed in Lena's eyes instantly because the voice sounded completely perfect. Not imitation, not recording. Exactly her. "What is that?" she whispered into the phone. The woman answered softly, "It's what comes after." Then the call cut dead again. Silence returned briefly. Suddenly, Lena's television switched on by itself across the apartment. Static filled the screen. Then an image slowly appeared beneath the distortion. Security camera footage. Grainy black and white footage of Lena's apartment hallway outside her door. Lena stared in horror. The hallway stood empty at first. Then elevator doors opened slowly at the far end of the corridor. Something stepped out. Lena, same clothes, same face, same tired expression. The double walked slowly the apartment door, carrying a bloody kitchen knife loosely at her side. Lena backed away, shaking uncontrollably. On the television screen, the hallway, Lena stopped directly outside the apartment door and slowly lifted her head toward the camera. Then she smiled unnaturally wide. Every light inside the real apartment exploded simultaneously into darkness. Chapter 1, Part 3. Only the television still glowed faintly inside the apartment now. Lena stood frozen in darkness while her own smiling face stared back at her from the hallway camera feed. Then the hallway version of Lena spoke directly toward the security camera. "She's watching." The apartment suddenly felt freezing cold. Lena stumbled backward toward the kitchen blindly while trying to control her breathing. Then the television image changed. Now it showed inside her apartment itself. Her living room. Real-time footage from somewhere inside the darkness around her. Lena stared in horror while the camera slowly moved closer toward where she stood hidden beside the kitchen doorway. Someone was filming her inside the apartment. "No," she whispered weakly. Then her phone rang again. Unknown number. Lena answered instantly. "Please help me." The woman on the line sounded exhausted now. Weak. "You still have time." Lena fought tears desperately. "Who are you?" Silence followed several seconds. Then the woman whispered softly, "I'm what's left of you." The television footage suddenly showed something moving behind Lena in the apartment darkness. Another version of herself slowly emerging from the hallway, shadows holding the knife. Lena spun around instantly, but nothing stood there. The woman whispered urgently through the phone, "Don't trust reflections." Lena froze. Slowly, she turned toward the dark kitchen window beside her. Her reflection stared back faintly in the glass. Except, it wasn't matching her movements anymore. Reflection Lena still held the phone beside her ear while the real Lena had lowered hers seconds earlier. Then the reflection smiled slowly. Lena screamed and stumbled backward. The reflection version of herself lifted one bloody hand and tapped softly against the inside of the glass from the wrong side. Tap, tap, tap. Then every reflective surface inside the apartment suddenly showed the wrong version of Lena staring toward her. Television screen, microwave door, bathroom mirror down the hallway, all smiling, all watching. The woman on the phone began crying harder. I tried hiding too. Then Lena heard a sound from inside her bedroom, footsteps. Slow, wet footsteps crossing the carpet toward the hallway. Lena backed away toward the apartment door instinctively. The bedroom door slowly creaked open by itself. Something stepped partially into the hallway darkness. Lena, but this version looked wrong. Pale skin, black liquid dripping slowly from her mouth, eyes completely hollow. It smiled wider while dragging the bloody knife against the wall softly. "Screech each." "Found you," it whispered using Lena's exact voice. Chapter 2, Part 1. Lena ran from the apartment immediately. She barely remembered grabbing her keys or reaching the hallway outside. The elevator doors stood open, waiting silently at the far end of the corridor beneath flickering lights. Lena sprinted toward them while sobbing uncontrollably. Behind her apartment door slowly creaked wider open. Wet footsteps followed calmly into the hallway. Lena, her own voice whispered softly behind her. Lena slammed the elevator button repeatedly. "Come on!" The footsteps grew closer. Scrape, 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 like the knife dragged along the wall while approaching. Finally, the elevator doors slid open fully. Lena stumbled inside and hammered the lobby button desperately. The doors began closing. Just before they sealed shut, a pale hand suddenly stopped them. Lena screamed. The reflection version of herself slowly forced the elevator doors back open wider. Up close, it looked horrifying. Same face, same hair, but the skin hung too loose around its mouth while black liquid leaked slowly from hollow eye sockets. "You answered the call," it whispered softly. "Now it knows your voice." Lena kicked violently against the creature while slamming the closed door button repeatedly. The elevator finally shut hard enough to sever the creature's fingers still gripping the doors. Black liquid sprayed across the floor while the fingers twitched violently. The elevator descended immediately. Lena collapsed, shaking against the wall. Then her phone buzzed again. Same's unknown number. She answered weakly. "Please tell me how to stop this." The woman on the line sounded farther away now somehow. "You can't stop it once it hears you." Lena fought tears. "What is it?" Silence followed briefly. Then the woman whispered softly, "It's the last thing people hear before they die alone." The elevator lights flickered violently. The car stopped suddenly between floors. Lena's blood turned cold instantly. Then the floor indicator above the doors changed slowly. Instead of showing floor numbers, it displayed a countdown clock. 0027.14. 27 minutes remaining. Lena stared upward in horror. Then came knocking from above the elevator ceiling. "Knock, knock, knock." The woman whispered urgently through the phone. "Don't let it speak first." Chapter 2. The elevator lights dimmed until only emergency red lighting remained. Lena pressed herself against the wall while the countdown above the doors continued ticking downward slowly. 0:24:39. Knock. Knock, knock. Something crawled slowly across the top of the elevator. Metal groaned overhead beneath shifting weight. The woman on the phone whispered shakily, "It copies voices first, then memories." Lena's breathing became shallow and panicked. "How do you know this?" Silence followed briefly. Then the woman answered softly, "Because I'm still inside it." Suddenly, the elevator ceiling dented downward violently above Lena's head. Another dent appeared beside it, finger-shaped impressions pressing slowly inward through metal. Lena screamed and backed away. Then her own voice echoed softly through the elevator speaker overhead. "Lena, open your eyes." Tears streamed down her face immediately. "Stop!" The voice laughed quietly. Her laugh. Exactly her laugh. "You already invited me in." Suddenly, the elevator speaker crackled violently. Then dozens of voices began whispering together beneath static. Men, women, children, all begging softly for help. "Please answer." Lena realized with horror that every voice sounded slightly familiar, like people she once knew. Then the whispers suddenly stopped together. Silence. The elevator doors slowly slid open. Not onto a hallway, onto another apartment identical to Lena's. Same furniture, same television, same framed pictures, but everything looked rotten. Wet black mold covered the walls while dim yellow lights flickered weakly overhead. Lena stared in horror while the woman on the phone whispered urgently, "That's where it keeps us." Inside the apartment sat dozens of people motionless across the furniture and floor, pale, silent people staring downward, phones pressed against their ears. None of them moved except one. A woman slowly lifted her head from the couch nearest the doorway. Lena stopped breathing. It was her. Older somehow. Exhausted, hollow-eyed. The woman from the phone. "Please." The older Lena whispered weakly. "Don't let it use your voice, too." Then every silent person inside the apartment slowly turned toward the elevator together. Their mouths opened unnaturally wide, and all of them spoke using Lena's voice simultaneously. Stay. Chapter 2. Part 3. The apartment lights exploded instantly while every figure inside surged toward the elevator at once. Lena slammed the close door button repeatedly, screaming in terror. Pale hands reached through the narrowing elevator doors while dozens of voices cried out using her voice. "Don't leave US." The doors finally shut hard enough to crush several grasping fingers. Black liquid smeared across the metal while the elevator shot upward violently. Lena collapsed, sobbing against the wall while the countdown clock continued dropping. 0:09:11. The woman's weak voice still echoed faintly through the phone. "Listen carefully." Lena forced herself upright, shaking uncontrollably. "How do I stop it?" The woman answered softly. It only survives if you answer. Lena frowned through tears. What? The calls. Static crackled louder now. Every victim answers because the voice sounds familiar. Lonely people always answer unknown numbers at night. Lena slowly understood. If nobody answers, it starves. The elevator suddenly stopped again. Silence swallowed everything. Then Lena's phone rang once more, unknown number. The woman whispered urgently through static. Don't answer this one. Lena stared down at the glowing screen, trembling violently. The ringing continued. Then another phone began ringing too, inside her coat pocket. But she only owned one phone. Slowly, Lena reached inside her pocket and pulled out a second identical phone covered in black liquid. It rang louder than the first. Then both phones rang together. The elevator speaker crackled softly. Her own voice whispered from overhead, "Pick up." Lena squeezed her eyes shut. The ringing grew deafening now. Then came knocking from inside the elevator walls around her. Knock! 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 The woman screamed desperately through static. Iger it. Lena dropped both phones onto the floor immediately and covered her ears. The ringing intensified painfully for several seconds. Then suddenly, silence. Complete silence. The elevator lights returned to normal instantly. The countdown vanished. Ding! The elevator doors opened calmly onto the real apartment lobby downstairs. Morning sunlight poured softly through the glass entrance ahead. Lena stumbled out, shaking violently. Behind her, the elevator doors remained open, empty, silent. Then one phone softly rang again from somewhere inside the elevator darkness. Lena never looked back. Police later reviewed building security footage after Lena disappeared 3 weeks afterward. The recordings showed her entering the elevator alone at exactly 12:01 a.m. But what terrified investigators most came moments later. Just before the elevator doors closed, another woman stepped silently inside behind her. Same face, same clothes, same smile.